And the 55th International Biel Chess Festival Day 2 is finished. The Grandmaster Triathlon Tournament had the rapid tournament. It was an exciting action between 8 invited Grandmasters, 7 rounds, a round-robin tournament, and what an action it was. So let's maybe have a look at some of the most exciting games played in the tournament. So probably we have to start with the game of the current world rapid champion, Nodrbek Abdusatorov, playing against German #1 Vincent Keimer. And it did not disappoint. So they played it out, the Trompovsky variation. Here, black seemingly is doing all right with the 2 bishops. And here, the Uzbeki Grandmaster decided to start a kingside assault with h4, clearly hinting with h5. After the short castle, h5, g5, black didn't really mind creating some weaknesses at a king side. After bishop c2, queen d3, white got really ambitious with the attack. g4, queen g5, Keimer showed that he also has some ambition. And now the critical moment arose here after e5, knight f1. White already was hinting at fighting for the f5 square with knight e3 and knight g3, and this was probably the moment when the young German made a mistake. He took on d4, which also by the former world champion Vishy Anand in the studio was recognized as probably a mistake, because after c takes, c5, black's idea to open the docks with bishop never really materialized. Now here, after the very powerful f4, g takes, c takes, and exactly e5, black cannot really make a proper defense. After f5, take on f6, knight f6, rook g1, black already was struggling, queen h4, knight g3, long castle, and after a couple of moves it already was quite obvious that black is suffering. So here, Keimer had really no other choice than to sacrifice this very powerful bishop on c2, and after queen c2, rook c8 and couple of moves, it was already quite obvious that the rest of the game is technique. White won the game. Also, one of the most exciting games was this time for Vincent Keimer playing with the white color against the eventual tournament winner, Wang Lian. So right after the opening, the action really took off with a bang, because here after c takes on d5, knight e5, queen c2, knight c6, a3, stopping any knight b4 ideas, here Vincent very quickly started to improvise. Bishop d3, h6, and very bold g4, clearly hinting with ideas like h4, g5, and rook g1. Now after rook c8, clearly hinting at knight e4 and knight b4 ideas, here Vincent played rook g1. Bishop e8, threatening with knight b4, and what it made really amazing, the young German allowed it. This was not a blunder. So after h4, knight b4, happened the trade, knight b4, and instead of course, retreating with a queen, white gave a check on h7, king h8, queen b1, g6. Now, we had this position in the live studio together with the former world champion Vishy Anand. We could not understand what's going on, because Vishy was suggesting knight g5. I was looking towards knight e5. There's various possibilities. Play on g6, play h5. Many, many interesting possibilities, and the game became a real mess. Now, after bishop takes on g6, f takes, knight e5, this was the discovered check. King h7, take on b4 was the choice by the young German, and very powerful idea, rook takes on f3, eliminating potentially a dangerous attacking piece from the white's perspective. This was found by Vietnamese top grandmaster. Here, after queen e4, the complications only were about to start, because also white has also his own ideas, try to checkmate black at some point, with most like queen e5 or h5. So black continued to march on. Rook takes on f2 was played here, and after king f2, queen takes on d2, king g3, c takes on b4, the game was incredibly, incredibly sharp. After rook g2, queen d6 check, bishop e5 apparently was not the best move, because after bishop c6, the complications became incredibly immense, and you can imagine, in the time trouble, of course, it was very difficult to make the right decisions. In the end, the position simplified here after Wang Lian finding the strongest move, queen d2 check. He simply came up after the complications with 2 extra pawns. However, Keimer showed extra strong resilience, and he was, in the end, saved the game despite the fact being down 2 pawns. So this, by far, at that point, was one of the most exciting games of the Rapid tournament. It finished in a draw. Also, of course, we have to show you one of the most interesting games by the Russian Grandmaster Andrei Yesipenko, who was the early leader of the tournament, having scored 5 victories in a row, 5 out of 5, gaining a considerable lead over all the other players. And this game he played against the last year's triathlon winner, Gatakamsky. Now, White already is slightly struggling due to the unfortunately placed king, and the knight on h4 also doesn't do much. And here, Yesipenko made a very nice, typical sacrifice, b5, in order to get control of the d5 square. Kamsky had no really choice, I mean, he had to accept it. And after c takes, rook d8, Black made sure that he can make a breakthrough in the center. And after king g1, d5, take, bishop d5, you could already start to appreciate Black's position, because he has 2 very powerful bishops, chance to organize a strong pawn center, while White's pawn majority at the queen side didn't really feel to be anything serious. After a couple of moves, e4, another powerful move by Yesipenko. So in the end, White did not really hold for long, because also g5 already was becoming a very serious threat. Queen takes on f2, rook d2, major threats by Andrei here with the black color. So in the end, after a couple of moves, Kamsky tried last tricks, but was unable to save the game. So a dream start for Andrei Yesipenko, scoring 5 points out of 5. For Gatakamsky, it was exactly the opposite. What a catastrophic start with 5 losses in a row. Continuing the action, one of the most memorable, if not the most memorable game of the Rapid tournament was from the ever-creative Salem Saleh, this time playing against Winston Keimer. Here he tried to rip apart Black's position with a4, and instead of the cautious a6, Winston felt that he can try to fight for more with b4. Now for Salem, he didn't have to be asked twice. He decided to sacrifice a piece because he is significantly ahead in development. After b takes, c takes on d5 was the key idea of Salem Saleh. After capturing the piece, e takes on d5, it seems that White doesn't have much for the sacrifice piece. However, after the very strong knight h4, it became incredibly unpleasant for Black to hold the position, because the bishop at some point, if it's going to lead the e6 square, White will play e6, bishop h5, and rook e1. If Black plays bishop e6, White simply marches for the f-pawn, and the Black king is in the middle of the action. Now here, Keimer played bishop e4. After rook c1, queen d8, targeting the knight on h4. Here, e6. What a move by Salem, ripping apart Black's position. Now, again, f takes on e6. White would just play bishop h5, f3, rook e1, opening the position. So, of course, Winston understood very well the dangers of the position, and instead he tried to complete development and give up the conquered material. However, after e takes on d7, knight takes on d7, the white knight on h4 again is under attack, and yet, again, White continued to charge forward. Bishop f4, not giving rest to Black. Bishop a3, now Black is desperately trying to cast a short. However, another powerful idea here by Salem Saleh was that after knight takes on b8, instead of protecting the knight, he kept the Black king in the center. Now here, after queen takes on h4, bishop b5 check, knight e7, and rook c1, it wasn't really clear how Black is going to hold this position together. So after the best move, queen g4, protecting the knight on d7, threading the mate on g2, here Salem Saleh came up with a very interesting idea. f3, take it, and bishop takes on d7. Now after queen d7, g takes on f3, the Black king is still in the center under a major attack. So king d7 was the only move. And after queen a7, you cannot really blame Vincent here for not finding the only move, king e8, but you can definitely understand that after king e8, queen b8, again the only move would be king e7, and apparently there's no mate, because after queen e5 check, king f8, there is no follow-up, and probably the game is going just to finish in a draw. So what the turnaround it was, and instead Vincent played king e6, which felt a natural choice, and after rook c6, king f5, queen takes on f7, king e4. This was probably what the German grandmaster saw from afar. However, there was the final stunning blow from the Arab grandmaster where he played rook g6, not only attacking the black queen, but also protecting his own king from the checkmate. So this was clearly missed by Keimer. So in the end, white won back the piece, the black king was exposed, and white won the game. So before the final round, we had still a sole leader, which was Andrei Yesepenko, because having scored 5 victories out of 5, he lost the 6th round game against Nobderbek Abdusattorov, what appeared to be a fortress in the final position, but as he confessed in the final position, he slightly rushed with his move, and then later he would regret it and lose the game. So, however, the final round game was the matchup between the two leaders. Wang Lian was trailing Yesepenko by 1 point, so this meant that if he wins the game, he overtakes the leader and wins the rapid tournament. So actually, the game was, for the most of the time, looking really peaceful until Yesepenko made some mistakes, and in the end, we got the following position. Now white is clearly winning, and after g5, Yesepenko tried his final trick by rook c4, threatening rook c3 check, rook c3 captured the white queen. Now, white could have played simply g6, and after g6, rook c3 sacrificed the queen, and one of these pawns inevitably will be promoted. Now, instead, Wang Lian rushed, and actually this could have had major impact on the final rankings. Queen c1 apparently was a huge blunder, because after rook c1, king g4, here, king f5, king c6. Now, as Wang Lian confessed in the post-game interview, he had intended to play g6, and clearly the idea was that after rook takes on h6, g7 wins, because the black rook cannot stop the passing pawn. However, what he had missed and what he noticed at the last moment, that black gave this very nasty check, rook h5 check, and that's it. So it doesn't matter what white is doing here. He can no longer win the game, because g7 now obviously is impossible due to rook g6. So here, drama continued. After king g6, king d6, king h7, now Yesepenko blitzed it out and played king e7, clearly with the idea that after g6, he has rook g1, meeting g7 with king f7, and white cannot advance the g-pawn. However, after simple move, king g7, white wins, because he's about to promote the h-pawn, and black can't do a thing about it. For example, the game could have continued like this, and white wins. And as it turns out, king e7 here was the critical mistake, because black could have played king e6. And now the big point is that after g6, rook g1. Now, if white plays king g7, now black has access to king f5, securing not only the draw, but also the victory in the rapid tournament. Yesepenko didn't find his final resource. He lost the game, so well-deserved victory in the tournament for Wang Lian, who was slightly lucky in the previous round, winning by time in a completely lost position against Arkady Nadich. So in the end, this is the final rankings as you see in the rapid tournament. Wang Lian takes down the rapid tournament with 11 points. Yesepenko is in the second place with 10 points. Nobderbek Abdusattorov, the reigning world rapid champion, finished with 9. Then we have Gukesh and Salem Saleh with 7 points. Nadich 6. Keimer, disappointing result for him, I guess, in the rapid tournament with 5 points. And of course, Gadakamsky started with 5 losses, made a draw, another loss in the end. So probably a tournament he wants to forget. So the action will resume on Thursday with the classical tournament round 1. The Grandmaster Triathlon here in Biel has only started. A lot of action is ahead. In the rapid tournament, we had briefly Vishy Anand in the commentating section, and he's also set to return for round 1 of the Classical tournament. Stay tuned and follow us live.